The rain poured heavily across the streets of Lagos as thunder echoed through the dark night sky. Inside one of the biggest mansions in the city, a young maid quietly scrubbed the marble floor while everyone else slept peacefully upstairs. Her name was Amara. To the outside world, she looked innocent, quiet, respectful, hardworking. But behind her soft smile hid a dangerous secret. Because Amara was not an ordinary maid. She was wicked, very wicked. And before that house would finally know peace again, lives would be destroyed. It all began 2 years earlier when the wealthy Balogun family hired Amara after their former housemaid suddenly disappeared without explanation. Nobody knew where the previous maid had gone. But desperate for help, Mrs. Balogun ignored the rumors surrounding the mysterious young woman from a distant village. The day Amara entered the mansion, strange things quietly began to change. At first, the signs were small. Food spoiled overnight. Mirrors cracked without reason. Children woke up screaming from terrifying nightmares. But slowly, the darkness inside the house began growing stronger. Mr. Balogun, once a calm and loving father, suddenly became aggressive and short-tempered. Business deals started failing mysteriously. Money vanished from accounts. And every night, arguments filled the mansion like echoes from a curse. Nobody suspected Amara. In fact, she became everyone's favorite. She spoke softly, cooked perfectly, worked harder than every other servant. Even Mrs. Balogun trusted her completely. But hidden behind that gentle face was jealousy buried deep inside her heart. Years earlier, Amara's own family had lived in terrible poverty, while rich families like the Baloguns enjoyed luxury. She grew up watching her mother suffer, while wealthy people drove past their village without care. Over time, bitterness poisoned her soul. And one day, an old woman in her village introduced her to dark powers. The woman promised her something dangerous. "Make the rich suffer," she whispered, "and you will never be poor again." Amara listened. From that moment, darkness consumed her completely. Inside the Balogun mansion, she secretly mixed strange powders into meals. She hid charms beneath beds. And every midnight, while the family slept, she performed rituals in a hidden corner behind the servants' quarters. Slowly, the once happy home began falling apart. The youngest daughter, Zara, became sick without explanation. Doctors found nothing wrong. Yet every night, the little girl grew weaker. Then one evening, Zara woke suddenly from sleep screaming, "There's a woman standing beside my bed." Her parents rushed into the room, but nobody was there. Only Amara stood quietly in the doorway pretending to look concerned. Fear slowly entered the mansion. Lights flickered constantly. Footsteps echoed through empty hallways at night. Servants began resigning one after another, claiming they saw strange shadows moving inside the house. Still, nobody suspected Amara, until the gardener disappeared. One afternoon, the old gardener confronted Amara after catching her burying something near the compound gate. "What are you hiding?" he demanded. For a brief second, Amara's face changed. The sweetness vanished, and something cold entered her eyes. The next morning, the gardener was gone. No goodbye, no trace, only silence. By now, Mrs. Balogun herself had started noticing strange things. She often woke up at exactly 3 a.m. hearing whispers outside her bedroom door. Sometimes she saw Amara standing silently in dark corners, staring at nothing. And whenever Amara smiled, a strange fear crawled through her body. One stormy night, electricity suddenly went out across the mansion. Thunder shook the walls as rain battered the windows violently. Mrs. Balogun searched the house carrying a lantern, trying to find Zara, who had disappeared from her bedroom. Then she heard singing. Soft, low, terrifying. The sound led her toward the abandoned storage room behind the kitchen. As she slowly opened the door, her blood ran cold. Candles surrounded the floor in a giant circle. Strange symbols covered the walls. And standing in the center was Amara, chanting, holding Zara's photograph. Mrs. Balogun gasped in horror. Amara slowly turned around, and for the first time, her true face appeared. Her eyes looked dark and hollow. Her smile no longer human. "You should have stayed in your room," she whispered. Suddenly, the candles exploded violently. The room shook, and Zara's voice echoed from somewhere inside the darkness, crying for help. Terrified, Mrs. Balogun grabbed her daughter's photo and ran. But from that night onward, Amara stopped pretending. The peaceful maid disappeared, and something far more dangerous emerged. Every night, Terrifying screams echoed through the mansion. Objects moved on their own. Doors slammed shut violently. Mr. Baligan became dangerously ill while Zara slipped deeper into unconsciousness. The family finally sought help from an elderly pastor known for dealing with spiritual attacks. The old man entered the mansion quietly, but the moment he stepped inside, he stopped walking. Then he whispered softly, "There is darkness living in this house." That night, prayers filled the mansion while thunder crashed outside. Amara screamed furiously as the pastor confronted her hidden shrine. The walls trembled violently. Mirrors shattered across the house. And suddenly, Amara collapsed to the floor, crying uncontrollably. For the first time in years, she looked human again. Broken. Lost. Tears streamed down her face as she confessed everything. The jealousy. The hatred. The rituals. The darkness she allowed into her soul. But some choices leave scars that never fully disappear. Amara was taken away the next morning. Nobody ever truly discovered what happened to her afterward. Some claim she returned to her village. Others believe the dark powers she served finally consumed her completely. But one thing remained certain. The Baligan mansion was never the same again. And years later, people still whispered about the beautiful maid with the innocent smile, who nearly destroyed an entire family from inside their own home. Because sometimes, the most dangerous evil does not arrive looking like a monster. Sometimes, it arrives smiling politely at your front door.